Well, hello, and welcome back. It is your girl, Miss Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. And I am continuing this video series on Who's Your Baggage, Releasing the Dead Weight. Oh, we're talking about so many great things. And if you have had the privilege or taken the time to watch other videos, hopefully you've got some great nuggets out of this. We've talked about so many different things. And so I'm encouraging you to share it with your friends because I'm sure someone that we know can absolutely use it. But today we are going to talk about abuse. We're going to talk about abuse. And as I do in my videos, I always want to offer the disclaimer that I am not a therapist. I am just having a conversation to offer a perspective to help to move you along the path to a better life. And so if you are someone who is experiencing abuse, then I encourage you to seek counseling and get some help and get out of the abusive relationship. So today we're going to kind of talk about from my book, The Life Diet 365, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of You. This is a book I wrote a few years ago, and I actually had a spin-off conversation on my TEDx. So you can find me on TEDx, The Gift of No, Suzanne Stroud, and you can watch that 11-minute video. So I want to talk about a couple of things. And so here's the thing, and I know that everyone has a different perspective on abuse, but abuse is never okay. Any form of abuse, especially physical abuse, it's not okay. So I'm going to share some things with you that I wrote in my book about abuse and then different types of abuse. Because I think when we think about abuse, we're always thinking about physical abuse. And I'm going to talk about a couple other things. So in my book, I wrote under the chapter of abusive relationships, I'm not a professional therapist. So what I'm about to say is just my humble opinion. So I want to make sure I preface that. It's just my humble opinion. But in my humble opinion, I believe most abusive relationships thrive. Hear the word thrive. For any length of time is due to lack of self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-respect. And some people may disagree with that, but there's something inside of a person, of an individual, that they convince themselves they feel like they're not good enough, they're not strong enough, or they don't love themselves enough, that they feel like they can stay in, especially an abusive relationship, because they feel like there's some glimmer of love there, there's some glimmer of hope. And so, as I stated, no form of abuse is okay, especially physical abuse. When people do not feel good about themselves, they will accept mistreatment from people closest to them. Fear eventually creeps in, and I firmly believe it all begins with how we feel about ourselves. And that's why it's just so important to understand yourself, get to know yourself, get to love yourself. Because when someone feels that they can manipulate or have power over you through physical abuse, that is not love. That is not a form of caring. And you have to feel better about yourself to know that, hey, this is not normal. This is not something that I should go through. You see, once you realize there's a better life to live, you'll come to the realization how much you don't need these individuals in your life. If people around you are tearing you down more than building you up, they must be detoxed and removed from your life. You cannot entertain toxic relationships and attempt to thrive in life at the same time. It's unbalanced and it won't work. It's an imbalance. So in my book, I talk about a couple of different types of abuse. And so we understand, physical abuse is usually the one that typically come to mind. Some abusers use physical abuse as a way to command a certain level of respect they're not receiving elsewhere, as a form of total control over another individual. They find pleasure watching their victim cower in fear. That just is not acceptable. So then I want to talk about the verbal abuser. So these people may not ever put their hands on you, But these people say very nasty things. And abuse can come from anyone. It can come from someone you're in a relationship with. It can come from a parent. It can come from a sibling, and even come from children on their parents, which, wow, that's just wow. So verbal abusers, some nasty things come out of the mouth of a verbal abuser. They usually talk loud, call you names, and use profanity to keep you in line. It's important for you to know who you are, not just your first and last name. You're beautiful, you're attractive, you're a talented individual. It's futile to wait for someone to speak validation and encouragement over your life. And I want to stop right there. We have to learn to encourage ourselves. Um, it is great that other people want to encourage us. It's great that other people will validate us. It's great that other people will, show high regard and high esteem for us. But if we don't feel that for ourselves, none of that matters, because we'll join ourselves to someone that gives the glimmer of something, and you think that all of that is great. You're like, oh, but yeah, but they're so good to me, but they do this. But no, if you are not liking the treatment, if you're always in fear and anxiety, that is not a good relationship for you. A verbal abuser has self-esteem issues themselves. Therefore, their weapon of choice to break another person down in order to build themselves up, they use words instead of their fists. So here's some familiar words from a verbal abuser. You're nothing. You're dumb or stupid. No one else will ever want you. Look how ugly and unattractive you are. And there's a host of other phrases that they use to kind of keep a person um, in line. And so it's just not acceptable. So the difference between the physical and the verbal is that the verbal is just using words. And so they put those words in your head. We can have a bruise or something that will go away. But when someone gets in our head or something gets in our head and we start believing that conversation, that can tear us down for much longer than an actual physical attempt. Then there's the emotional abuser. This is a sneaky type of abuser because they like to play head and mind games. There's a joy in keeping the victim twirling on an emotional roller coaster, constantly unsure of the decisions they make about life or even their self-worth. An emotional abuser will say things which appear to be subtle or in a joking manner, still getting their point across under the guise of being a friend or a loved one. It's critical to distinguish the good and bad traits in these individuals and the onset of the relationship. The signs are visible, but typically ignored because we often think we have the power to change a person. Wrong, 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 wrong. We cannot change a person. We can only change ourselves. And when we change ourselves, if that person is supposed to be a part of our lives and they want to be there, they will see our change and then they will change on their own as a result of our change. We cannot change, especially ladies. We always think that we can change a man. We cannot change a man. We can only change ourselves. You can change a man by walking away and saying, hey, no, this is not good for me and I'm just done. And then he'll either change for you or change for somebody else, but at least he changed. Tolerating an abusive relationship of any sort isn't healthy or safe. Now, here's one that happens all the time to every single one of us. If you have not been physically abused, verbally abused, emotionally abused, people have abused your time. I'm going to pause on that one. You're going to think, yeah, people abuse my time. Here's a perfect example that just came to mind. Someone calls your phone and your voicemail says, I'm not available. Please leave me a message and I'll get back to you. Please leave me a brief but detailed message and I'll get back to you. Beep. Hey, give me a call. I want to ask you something. Did my voicemail just say, leave me a brief but detailed message? That's an abuse of time because that person feels like the voicemail is not good enough. They want to grab you. They want to snatch you. Now, it's different if you say, hey, give me a call. I want to ask you about such and such. It gives them an idea what the call is about, but it's too long to go into detail on a voicemail. That part. Or you text somebody and it's a textable response. and they pick up the phone and call you. It's an abuse of time. So the most valuable commodity one can have is time, and it should not be wasted. Time abusers are individuals who have the fallacy that you wake up each day with the sole purpose of serving them, and your schedule for the day is insignificant compared to what they want you to do. They call you in the middle of the day with nothing to say, leave a voicemail saying, call me when you get this, or drop by unannounced with the expectation to hang out, chill, and kill time. Time abusers rarely get to the point in a conversation. They believe you have all day to listen to their stories or explanations, and what they're saying has relevance. Time abusers have no sense of time, meaning they're usually late to meetings or events, assume you're okay with waiting on them, and the scheduled time wasn't important. Why schedule a meeting if you're not going to be on time? Help me understand that. I have a simple rule. The rule is if a person is not willing to be considerate or respectful of my time, then they're not worth my time at all. I value myself too much to allow time abusers to be an issue in my life. So I know we talked about a couple of different things, but I do want to leave this with you. Abuse, again, is not acceptable, even if it's right down to the time abusers, because no one has a right to abuse your time. But I hope that you have found something in this. And again, this is from my book, The Life Diet 365, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of You. It's about removing and acknowledging negative and toxic people from our lives. And in my TEDx, The Gift of No, I talk about the people who just want to get a yes. They just want to get a yes, even though you want to say no. And that is a form of self-care. And so I'm very big on self-care. I'm very big on self-care. So I'm hoping that you got something in this, even if it's just the fact that you'll pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm in an abusive relationship. I need to get help. I need resources, and call your abuse hotline because there are people out there that can help you to get through this. And so I believe, let me see here. Yes. Domestic abuse hotline, 800-799-7233. So if you are in that situation, please use that number to get some help, connect with your loved ones, let them know what is going on and that you need them. So again, I hope that you have found some little nugget in here that can help. And if you are watching this video and you have a comment that you feel can offer someone some assistance and some guidance, please do so. They may see something that you write, and that may be the catalyst that helps them to change and move forward. I'm a Straight Talk No Sugar Addict. I can be found on social media platforms under Miss Straight Talk No Sugar Addict or just Miss Straight Talk. And my website is bestraightup.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the little bell, and forward to at least 5 to 10 of your friends so that everyone can get this message. And I can grow my channel. Y'all quit playing. So have an amazing day, and thank you so much for joining me once again. Bye-bye.